Do you ever wonder why Taiwan and Palestine are not members of the United Nations? Well, maybe you have never given it much thought before, and maybe you couldn't care less. But if you knew the real reason why neither of these two nations are not United Nations member states, listen up. Remember, this channel does not pussyfoot around when it comes to calling things as they are. So if you are not easily offended, sit back and enjoy the video. Let's start with Taiwan. Taiwan is an island nation just off the coast of China. The official name for Taiwan is the Republic of China. That's right. You heard me correctly. Taiwan is the original Republic of China. In 1945, following the end of World War II, the nationalist government of the Republic of China, ROC, led by the Kuomintang, KMT, took control of Taiwan. In 1949, after losing control of mainland China in the Chinese Civil War, the ROC government under the KMT withdrew to Taiwan and Chiang Kai-shek declared martial law. The KMT ruled Taiwan, along with the islands of Kinmen, Wukwaiu and the Matsu on the opposite side of the Taiwan Strait, as a single-party state for 40 years, until democratic reforms in the 1980s, which led to the first-ever direct presidential election in 1996. During the post-war period, Taiwan experienced rapid industrialization and economic growth known as the Taiwan Miracle, and was known as one of the four Asian tigers. I think it is fair to say that today the majority of Taiwanese citizens identify as Taiwanese rather than Chinese. Taiwan is not a member of the United Nations, UN, or its sub-organizations, but it aspires to participate. China opposes this. It argues, correctly, that only sovereign states can enjoy membership in the UN. Any state that manages to enter into the UN system as a full member in its own right is seen by the other member states as a fully fledged independent country. China also claims Taiwan as part of its territory and denies that Taiwan is a sovereign state. China is adamant about preventing recognition of Taiwan as a sovereign state and its membership in the UN system. So far, China has been successful in this endeavor. Membership, the highest form of participation, in the United Nations is inextricably linked with the question of sovereignty. Both China and Taiwan are highly aware of this problem. Therefore, for both sides, the question of UN membership and other forms of participation for Taiwan has never lost its sensitivity. However, over time the nature of the question has changed, from a fight about which government, the People's Republic of China, PRC, with its seat in Beijing, or the Republic of China, ROC, with its capital in Taipei, was the sole legitimate representative of China in the world. It has since the early 1990s evolved into consideration of whether the UN would not be able to accommodate both in some way. While Taiwan, since the early 1990s, would favor such a solution, although not necessarily on the basis of full membership status, China adamantly refuses to move away from its position that Taiwan is part of China and thus cannot be represented on its own in the world's most prestigious and important state-based international organization. China has the advantage in that it is a member of the United Nations, and is one of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council. It also enjoys increasing international clout outside the UN system. So in effect, China is acting as the schoolyard bully in getting its own way, because China is in a gang. The gang in question is the United Nations Security Council. Although there are 15 member states on the United Nations Security Council, only 5 are permanent members, and they are the United States, the United Kingdom, Russia, France, and China. The permanent member status of the United Kingdom and France should be reassessed. When is the last time that you think the United Kingdom or France were considered a world power? Anyway, that's the gang, and we now turn our focus to Palestine, and the gang member that vetoes their membership is the good old USA. The USA is the other bully in the playground, and some might say the leader of the gang. First and foremost, the United States only vetoes Palestinian membership of the United Nations because of its relationship with Israel. Israel is the 51st state of the USA, make no mistake about that. It is also an apartheid state. It favors its Jewish citizens above all others. Don't believe the bullshit you hear that Palestine is a troublemaker in the region. The Israelis are getting away with murder, and they are fully backed by the United States. Who do you think finances the Israeli military? Who pays for the so-called dome? The United States doesn't want to upset Israel, so it vetoes Palestine membership of the United Nations, and its puppet state Canada gives its full support as being the only other country to vote against Palestinian membership in the most recent vote. The Israelis do what they like, and they get full support from the gang, or in other words the United Nations Security Council. Don't underestimate the power of the Jewish vote in American presidential elections. That's one of the reasons that even the most liberal of Americans, such as Obama, sit on the fence when it comes to Palestine. We kept it short about Palestine, because it is quite simple. To put it in a nutshell, the international community, headed by the United Security Council, are afraid of upsetting Israel, and allowing Palestine full membership of the United Nations would upset Israel very, very much, and Big Brother America wouldn't want to upset Israel. This is the yellow dot, telling it as it is. If you haven't subscribed already, do so now and click the notifications bell. See you again soon.